Welcome to Between the Covers, the show for readers and writers and lovers of books. I'm Stephanie, a publisher at Red Penguin Books, where we publish books of all types and genres. So whether you have a manuscript all ready to go, or if the book is still in your head, or maybe even 300 sheets of loose leaf shoved in a drawer. And yes, we get envelopes filled with loose leaf at least once a month. Visit us at redpenguinbooks.com and unleash your inner author. I'm so excited today to be joined by three authors who have completely unleashed themselves. Carly Furino is the author of Libby the Ladybug Learns Helpfulness, and you're going to be delighted to meet Carly and learn all about Libby. I wonder if there was a real ladybug somewhere there. Danielle Scott is the author of Niece Girl, and one of my favorite places to visit, and you're definitely going to want to go there once you hear about the book. And then finally, Bill Schoening is the author of Stories, Sports, and Songs, Tales and Tunes by a Play-by-Play Lifer. But first, we're going to meet Carly, and Carly writes of Libby. Libby the Ladybug is a sweet and loving little ladybug who wonders why she doesn't have any spots on her back like the rest of her ladybug friends. She tries to earn spots, but doesn't quite get it right. The funny thing is, when Libby doesn't try so hard, amazing things happen. Enjoy the adventures of Libby the Ladybug and see the wonderful lesson of helpfulness that she learns along the way. Please welcome our author, Carly. Nice to have you.
Hi, Stephanie. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, thrilled to have you. Thrilled to have you. But first you have to wind me back. Was there like a ladybug in your apartment and you just couldn't kill it and thought, I'm going to write a book instead? I mean,
well, now you might see there's ladybugs immersed all around me.
I'm going to see that. Yes. Decorate with ladybugs next. I decorate with penguins. So
there
really,
you go.
it's okay. Ladybugs are a lot cheaper and it's illegal to have a pet penguin, but you can have pet ladybugs.
There you go. When I was younger, it seemed like everywhere I went, a ladybug was always near me, whether it was at the park or at the playground or just having a picnic outside, there was always a ladybug present. And what I learned was that ladybugs were so different. They were different colors, different sizes, and a lot of curiosity sparked when I was younger about the mystery of ladybugs.
Okay, I'm a little concerned about the different sizes. You mean they're not all this big? Are there like giant ladybugs too?
Well, when their wings come out, they look very differently too. So
I mean, they do. But I was afraid that there was like some Godzilla ladybug that lurks in the south.
Not yet. Maybe one day. You never know.
I don't know. Bill, you're from Texas. Do you have giant ladybugs? Because everything is bigger in Texas.
Oh, well, you know that, Stefan. You've been to Texas. Everything is bigger in Texas. And yes, we have these giant ladybugs down here that are the size of armadillos. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh. And I have to fly down there.
Carly is going to be on the next flight down to check that out. So, Carly, tell us a little bit about your background with children, because this is huge with the book, too.
So ever since I was a little girl, I always wanted to be a teacher. I went to Penn State University and got my bachelor's degree in education. And when I was student teaching, I had the privilege to work with some students with learning challenges. And I spent a lot of time working one-on-one on their reading and writing skills. And a passion kind of formed within me to work with students that had learning challenges. So then I pursued my master's degree at Queens College in special education. And I am proud to say that I have been a special education teacher for over 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey every year working with different children. I feel so blessed to have worked with so many kids in my classes. And throughout my years, I've worked with preschoolers, kindergartners, first and second graders. So I've kind of mixed it up every year.
Fantastic. And I did not realize that you and I have Queens College in common. Very
nice.
Cool. Very cool. But what we don't have in common is you obviously have a lot more patience than I do working with all of those children who are so special. That's fabulous.
I have to tell you, sometimes when I get home, when a friend or somebody else says my name, it's like I can't hear my name anymore. It's just so used to hearing my name hundreds of times throughout the day.
I can't even imagine. I have to ask you, as a teacher who's dealing with a special population, how have you been dealing the past 2 years? What was that like in the classroom? And are you back full time the regular way, if that's even a word anymore? What's going on in classrooms nowadays?
Yeah, it's been a journey. I think education all over the world had to pivot at a very challenging and unpredictable time. I feel so lucky to have been working with a community that was so supportive during the pivot to remote learning. That was a challenge, teaching kindergartners with special needs over the computer. But I have to say, they persevered with true grit, bringing literacy and math and social studies and learning how to add and subtract and how to do that over the computer was a challenge at first, but we really worked together as a team and made learning fun and enjoyable. And I really saw progress over the months. We've been back in person, very luckily. We've been back in person for the past year. And as the weeks have continued, things have been getting better, and we are, pulling back on some of the protocols. So students will, start to have more of a normal education and school day without their masks and not social distancing as much. And we'll really get back to what school was like a couple years ago.
That's amazing that you had such success, because I teach, besides publishing, I teach college. And boy, it's not easy even on the college level. So I can't imagine with little tiny special needs children on a computer. There I am teaching, small business management to a group of 20-year-olds, and still there are challenges. So
I have to say, the thing I missed the most was just seeing their smiling faces throughout the day. And wearing the masks, we still had fun. We still made learning fun and engaging. And you can tell when someone's smiling through the mask. And we learned as a class how to smile through our masks. But I'm just super excited for the kids to see my face and, my animation, and for me to see theirs as well.
that's fantastic. That's just amazing. So Libby learns helpfulness. Why did you pick that? I have a feeling that Libby is going to have some other books coming out. That's what I'm
Sure
thinking.
is.
But why this one first? Especially since, was it always, did you think it was going to be a one and done, and now that you've done it, you're thinking Libby's going to have more adventures? Or did you pick helpfulness as your first kind of challenge?
Yeah, so I actually wrote this story when I was in 5th grade. Like I said earlier, ladybugs were all around me, and I asked my 5th grade teacher, why do ladybugs have spots? And she said, Carly, why don't you write your own story on how that happens? So I went to Michael's craft store with my mom, and I bought a canvas book, and I began typing up my story and cutting and pasting the illustrations, and created this story in 5th grade. And ever since, I kind of just carried it with me. And when I became a teacher, I pulled it out of storage and I said, I have to have this in my classroom library, because what better way to motivate children to read and write than to be, an example to them. And so every year I would read it to them, and their little mouths would drop, and I wouldn't tell them I was the author until the very end. And there was just this sense of motivation in the classroom to want to write and to want to read. And so Libby was really born throughout the past couple of years in my classroom. And, during the pandemic, I had some more free time. And a dream of mine was to always get it published. And, I met you, Stephanie, and we connected, and you made my dream a reality. And as we've connected, at first I thought maybe Libby was going to be a one and done. And, as I've read it to my students, they want more. And so Libby is very relatable. I hope students relate to her. I hope adults can relate to her as well. And she's definitely going to experience ups and downs just like we all do. And I just hope that through every book, everyone can take something away, take a little nugget from it, and learn something.
Well, not only do I think you are teaching young students and children everywhere, I'm sure you're saving the lives of many ladybugs also, because once they get involved with Libby, when they see one, they're going to have to gently carry it to a twig. Like, who can kill a ladybug after she stars in her own book and all?
That's very true.
Absolutely. Well, now that it's springtime and we're airing this episode, okay, everyone, no killing ladybugs.
Never.
You might also have to do one about the bees because we have a really big problem with a shortage of bees. So if you need another insect, I'll put in a personal plug that
You never know, anything's possible.
maybe Libby will have some friends who are bees because we do need to save the bees. Well, I'm so excited about Libby the Ladybug. Our next author is completely different, shall we say. Danielle wrote Niece Girl, and what she wrote about this says, Chloe finds herself in the south of France during peak summer season. Unlike everyone around her, she isn't there for the glitz and glamour of a summer vacation in the Côte d'Azur. What brought her there? What is she running from? Follow Chloe's story as it takes her from one Mediterranean summer locale to another. Can she outrun whatever she's left behind in New York before it catches up to her? Well, for the ultimate beach read, because it's going to be a beautiful summer, please welcome author Danielle Scott. Nice to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thrilled to have you. And yes, this is definitely the book to be reading, lying there on the towel, wishing we were in the south of France.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice summer read. It's fun. It's, exciting. I think something definitely that even if you're not on the beach could transport you there.
Absolutely. For anyone who can't afford to be in the south of France, this is the way to go. And no COVID test necessary.
No.
So tell me, what inspired both things? There's the storyline, but there's the location.
So for the past 6 summers, I was living in Europe during the summer and spending some time in a lot of these places and just kind of, people watching and experiencing it all. And I guess that's what inspired me.
Wow, what made you so fortunate? Everyone's now saying, how did she get to spend the past summers living in the south of France?
I just don't have that much work in the summer, and some of my family is out there. So I just, in 2014, I started spending much of the summer there.
Very nice. I presume you're fluent in French to get around?
I'm fluent in Spanish. I'm actually half Spanish. So
okay.
Spanish, English, and I do speak French as well, but I wouldn't say I'm fluent.
Okay, well, fluent in Spanish is certainly further along than most Americans get as far as the second language is concerned. Now, what about the storyline? What made you with this storyline?
I wish I could tell you, I really don't know. It just sort of happened. I came up with an idea and developed it and started writing it. And that's kind of how it went. I can't say that, I don't want to ruin it for any readers, so I won't talk too much about the plot line.
No spoilers.
But one would hope that it was not necessarily inspired by true events, given some of what happens in the story. But I don't know.
Wow, I wasn't sure if it was like you woke up from a dream and you suddenly had this vision of Chloe and her antics, or maybe something happened to you in the south of France and you sat there thinking, I wonder if this was going on in the back.
I mean, I think many of the characters are probably combinations of people I've met or people I've known or things like that. But the events are definitely, all just created.
Completely fictional. Now,
yes.
Was this your first novel that you've ever written?
Yes.
Okay. So you've written before.
Yes, I have. I actually write a lot during the week with my regular job. I'm a speech pathologist, actually. So I do also some similar work to Carly, but I only do really diagnostic testing. And I'm an adjunct professor at Brooklyn College. So I teach diagnostics as well. So I'm writing like 5 reports a week based on my testing. So that's like a good, 25, 30 pages a week. So it's a different kind of writing, but
very different.
Nonetheless, it is still writing. So, but yes, I've written some other things throughout my life. I don't know that I spent much time on them, just ideas, things like that, I guess, along the way.
I'm so glad that you pointed out that the writing that you're doing, even if it is for work and it's diagnostic, is writing, because I'll be speaking with people who want to improve their writing, and they'll say, well, I don't, really have time. Everything that you write is part of that arsenal of craft that you have. And I'm so glad that you recognize that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is very different, but you still need to find a way to express, the ideas or thoughts that you have about, how someone performed on testing, or describe what they were like. So someone reading the report really gets a snapshot of, that child or adult's functioning at this current time. So it really does need to be illustrated, because someone's reading it and they're trying to understand, what's deficit, how deficited is it. So I think there's still a lot of value in that kind of writing, even in terms of helping you become a better writer.
I agree. I agree. Absolutely. Now, but this being fiction, very different from, I would think that your diagnostics are not fiction.
Yeah, those are nonfiction.
Now, in general, fiction writers, when I would have the chance to interview them, seem to fall into one of two camps with a lot of blur in the middle. Some, the whole story was kind of formulated in their head, and they even wrote out an outline and kind of even knew scene by scene what was going to happen before they started that first thing. And others seem to sit down at the computer and get as far as, so what's her name going to be? And they just kind of let it flow from there. What would you say was more like what you did?
I think that I definitely had the complete story beforehand,
Okay.
but only the key elements, who the character was, where she was going to be, what was going to happen, and ultimately what the ending would be. But I didn't have any of it in between. Okay. And I think the aspect of outlining was something that I only did probably after I was more than halfway done, in order to fill in the gaps and just sort of outline to myself what was still necessary, what scenes are, still needed to be incorporated.
Right.
So probably somewhere in the middle.
That was a good idea when you're halfway through, to kind of say, okay, let me make sure, now that we've gotten this far, let me make sure that I get all these things in.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this novel is it keeps shifting from New York to Saint-Tropez, and then it meets in the middle. So you had to kind of be organized in terms of the timelines, so the dates would sort of match up, because the backstory is what was in New York, and then the present was why she was in Saint-Tropez. Gotcha. I don't know that I need to say really more about it, but
nope. I always say, when we're talking about novels and such, we will never discuss anything on the air past page 30, because we want to make sure that no spoilers. But no, that was great that you made an outline then, just to, like you said, you've got timeline, you've got characters, you probably had side plots and backstory and things like that going on.
Yes.
Now, if you wrote a second novel, and certainly we hope that you do, I don't know if you've already plowed, but anything that you've learned from this process of writing that you would maybe do different, or that was good, that you would give, say, as a tip to another writer who's embarking on their first?
That would be hard for me to say, because I assume that everyone has their own individual process. So I don't really know that I could give any advice in terms of the act of actually getting the writing done. But I think that, if you have a good idea and you can put the time and effort into it, I think there's value to that. So I would encourage anyone interested in writing a novel.
How long did this take you from start to you wrote the end, at the end, as far as writing the book?
So I primarily worked on it in the summers when I was away. So I wasn't working on it all the time, just, a couple of months a year. I would say it took a few summers, but I finished it probably over 2 years ago, and maybe even a little bit longer, but it took a while to do really anything with it. Possibly not as long as Carly.
who wrote
you
in
know,
fifth grade.
in the 5th grade, but it's hard
Oh, no,
to
absolutely.
get the momentum.
But a couple of summers, that's not awful. I mean, Margaret Mitchell took 10 years to write Gone with the Wind, so this is not bad at all. And hey, you got to go to a beautiful place to do your research, which is
Yes,
cool.
yes.
Now, if you were going to write a second one on another fabulous location, where would that location be?
What if I'm already writing a second one?
Ooh, okay. And
It's different characters though, but it does also take place in a non-US location.
a non-US location, and we'll just you'll have to read the book to find out what that non-US location is.
I mean, it's Spain, but I won't keep too much hidden, but
That works well with the fact that it's your second language too.
exactly.
And I'm all for, hey, why not go there and do some research while you're at it?
I will be there this summer. So, I mean, barring any unforeseen world circumstances.
Oh, well, we always have to say that nowadays, don't we? Barring any unforeseen circumstances. Well, thank you so much. Our next author is completely different. Boy, we've gone from the ridiculous to the sublime here. Bill Schoening is the author of Stories, Sports, and Songs, Tales and Tunes by a Play-by-Play Lifer. And long before he hit the big time as the play-by-play voice of the Texas Longhorns and San Antonio Spurs, sportscaster Bill Schoening paid a lot of dues. Stories, Sports, and Songs is a collection of 101 tales that chronicle Schoening's unlikely and often humorous radio journey. It started with the childhood dream of a fourth grader in inner city Philadelphia and continued to small market stations in rural areas of central Illinois and West Texas. Along the way, he wrote melodies and lyrics about his life experiences. Schoening's broadcasting career now spans over 4 decades, and he has spent half of those years with the Spurs, describing 4 NBA titles during his 21 seasons. Please welcome author and sportscaster Bill Schoening. So nice to have you.
Good to be with you, Stephanie. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And you have, boy, you started in the 4th grade. Carly was in the 5th grade. We're just like childhood dreams here. But from the 4th grade and 4 NBA titles.
Yeah, I kind of knew what I wanted to do. I was very lucky. You know, not everybody knows what they want to do from a young age. And I was 10 years old and falling asleep listening to the radio one night to a baseball broadcast and said, I want to be the guy that puts kids to sleep. So it's come full circle. It's come full circle, Stephanie, because last week I was interviewed by a student and he said he was the kid that fell asleep listening to me. So it has come full circle. So little kids have fallen asleep to me just like I did a long, long time ago.
Well, you know, that's funny too, because now you're an author and now you could be the book that puts people to sleep.
I hope not. I hope it's a little more exciting than that.
But I don't know if I wanted you to be the voice that was putting people to sleep either. So
Exactly. Yeah.
that's wild. That's absolutely wild. So I don't know if you're allowed to answer this question, especially because you spent most of your career with the Spurs, but do you have a favorite sport?
You know, it's so funny because this spring I'm doing a lot of college baseball and I'm really enjoying it. I hadn't done baseball in a while because I've basically just been doing the NBA for the last 20 years. But different circumstances gave me an opportunity and I really am enjoying it. I don't make the money doing that like I do with the NBA, but it's not about the money. It's just about having fun and going out there and kind of recapturing my first love, which was baseball very early in my life.
Wow. So baseball, basketball, have you also called hockey, football, I don't know, curling, what else?
I've never done curling. I did quite a bit of football through the years. In fact, during my time with the University of Texas, we had a Heisman Trophy winner, which the Heisman Award goes to the best college player in the country. His name was Ricky Williams. So I got to call every carry of his amazing career. So I've been very fortunate because in my career, I've had a chance to cover a lot of Hall of Famers, especially in my time with the Spurs.
That's fantastic. So no curling. How about soccer? That's like a big fast.
No, my son does soccer and volleyball and softball. He does all these other sports that I've never had a chance to do. I've never really tried because I've been concentrating on all those other sports all these years. But I don't know enough about soccer, to be very honest with you, to be able to take a swing at that, or a kick at it, if you will.
Wow. Well, being on the sidelines of literally history, you've literally been there calling history as it was being made. What is the most memorable that you just literally said, took a breath and said, let me breathe in this moment, because this is
that final championship, Stephanie, was 2014. We had won 3 earlier. In fact, of my first 6 years with the team, they won 3 championships. So I think for me, it was like, oh, every other year we expect a title. It doesn't happen that way. But in 2013, the Spurs just about had everything wrapped up against Miami. Miami came back and won a heartbreaking loss. The Spurs lost the championship. And the next year, the same team, completely intact, beat Miami in the finals and beat them very badly. So I think that was probably the highlight, because they absolutely had a redemption season, coming back from a very disappointing loss the year before.
wow. And what about surprising things? Have you ever been there and things were just happening? You were saying, I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, because I had this dream as a little kid, and then all of a sudden, here I am doing a game at Lambeau Field, an NFL game at the Green Bay Packers legendary stadium. I've done games in Madison Square Garden, Yankee Stadium, the Rose Bowl. So for a little kid with a dream to be able to achieve some level of success in the business and get to, broadcast games from all those legendary places. And with the Spurs, they travel internationally a lot, at least they did before COVID. So I've been able to go to, places like Istanbul, Turkey, and Berlin, Germany, and Lyon and Paris, France. So maybe we should have a character from the previous book, maybe go down the Nice girl. Maybe the Nice girl needs to meet a Nice boy. I don't know. So, yeah, it's been an international experience as well. And that's why I felt compelled to share some of these stories and some of the characters I've met through the years.
Wow. So tell me about writing the book, because, a lot of people, they say nowadays, 90% of the population wants to write a book. And well, some people want to write a children's book. And some people do want to write a fiction story. They're really good storytellers. So many want to write about their life. Now, Bill, I'm sure most people's lives are not nearly as exciting as yours.
Well, I've been very lucky. Yeah, Stephanie, I thought that I would write a book at the end of my career, and I'm probably a lot closer to the end than I am the beginning. I think I still have a little gas in the tank. I want to keep going for a while here. But when COVID hit, there were no games to call. There were no planes to catch. Everything just stopped, as you well know. So now all of a sudden I had time on my hands as well. If I'm going to start on this project, I might as well do it now. And it took a while. And as you know, we've kind of been going back and forth with a number of different things here in the last year or so. But I finally feel like, we got it edited the way we wanted to. And Red Penguin's happy. I'm happy. And we're ready to go with this thing now.
Which means, of course, because you are not anywhere close to the end of your career, that we are going to have a second volume or something, because we're not at the end yet, and you're writing this book.
Yes, exactly. The stories I couldn't tell in the first book.
Exactly. So how did you do it? As far as, some people think, oh God, do I have to start with, I was born on a Tuesday and it was raining? Or do you just kind of stream of consciousness, think of, funny stories? Like, what was your method of getting it from your head down on paper?
Oh, I sat down with an iPad and I started writing down the titles of stories. Okay, I want to tell this story, this one. And I had more than I needed. So I had to kind of do some editing, self-editing, if you will. But not all of the stories are sports related, because not everybody's into sports. So obviously it's a sports book pretty much, but I had a lot of interesting things happen to me in my career that weren't sports related. In fact, in small market radio early in my career, I had to cover the prison system in Texas. And I ended up covering 29 lethal injections, executions. I got introduced at a convention as the voice of death in Texas.
Yeah.
So yes, the voice of death. And I am not kidding you, Stephanie, the story's in the book, but as I'm about to accept the award and say a few words, right next door, there was a wedding reception going on. It was at a big hotel. And the band at that moment started to kick in with the famous Elvis Presley song, Jailhouse Rock. And it couldn't have been on cue any better. And here I am about to accept an award and tell a speech about covering the prison system, and Jailhouse Rock plays next door.
Oh my gosh. I guess when you're an up and coming, there's that joke that you'll be there. It's the opening of an envelope. You'll just show up for anything and call
I,
it.
yeah, well, you pretty much have to, because in small market radio, you don't do just sports. You might have to spin country and Western records. I did that. I learned all about Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings at a pretty young age. And for a Philly guy to go to West Texas and learn about country music, I didn't grow up on country, believe me. But all of those different elements are in the book about, small market radio, moving to small towns after growing up in a big city, the adjustments, technical problems that happen on the air, especially in small market radio. So we cover all of that. So there were a lot of stories I wanted to get to, and I ended up with over 100 of them.
Over 100. So there are still a few left that can go into that next volume, because we have more years to go and more stories.
Absolutely. Yes.
What about the one that got away? Is there a story, a game, a something that you wish you would have been able to call?
Oh, there's a million of them. And there's a story in the book where I had a chance to cover a heavyweight championship fight between George Foreman and Tommy Morrison. And Top Rank Boxing was the boxing promoter. They sent me the airline tickets. This is long before anything was electronic. Anyway, I couldn't go because I had a conflict. I had a baseball tournament I was covering. The team that I cover made to the College World Series. So I couldn't be in Omaha and Vegas at the same time. So I actually gave the physical tickets to a buddy of mine. He went to Vegas and covered the fight as Bill Schoening. So that was the one that got away. I kind of covered that fight, but I really didn't, because I was 1,000 miles away.
Right, so he went as you. So in the history books, you were actually there.
Yeah, exactly. Except at this guy's house, he's got all kinds of different paraphernalia and memorabilia at his house. But he's got a picture of himself with Bill Schoening on it, and it was his credential from the fight. So because they thought that he was me. And now, of course, that was before 9/11. That could never happen now, where you fly and you're somebody else. So that would be very, very difficult to pull off.
You just imagine, oh my gosh, if your name has one misspelling in it, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
But, I mentioned the one that got away, but I don't think too much got away. Weren't you recently awarded something for like perfect attendance in radio announcing? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I've been very lucky because I've been with the same team now for 21 years, and I'm in my 21st season, and I have not missed a game I was scheduled to work. Early in my career with the Spurs, I was still doing University of Texas football, so I missed a couple of games early in the season. But we figured out in the beginning of the year that I would hit number 2,000 on March 20th, I think it was, it was March 10th. And so, boom, that night, they make a big deal out of it. I was on TV. The Spurs television network gave a charity of mine $2,000, which I was very, very pleased about. Cairo's Prison Ministry. I'm involved in that ministry. And it was really, touching and heartwarming to see the recognition. But, you don't miss a game in 20 years. I guess you get a little pat on the back.
That's why I said the perfect attendance award for sportscasters. That's what I thought when I saw it. Tell me a little bit about this prison ministry and what other things you do besides the sportscasting.
It was a great invitation to this prison ministry. My buddy Randy is a guitar player, and he knows I like to sing. So he says, Bill, how would you like to be the lead singer of a band? That sounds good. He said, that's going to go into a maximum security prison for a weekend. Sounds good. With a bunch of guys doing 25 to life. Sounds good. Okay. So, and the program is 42 inmates that normally wouldn't be getting together. They all get together and we sing for them. We feed them. We show them that there's such a world with forgiveness and love, and that they're not completely forgotten about, even though they've made some big mistakes in their life. And the thing I learned most, Stephanie, in talking to these inmates is the advantages I had as a kid. I had a loving family. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had a lot of love in our family. And these guys come from families that don't have that. And they were behind the 8 ball before they even got started. And that's why they end up in places like a maximum security prison.
Wow, that's amazing that you do that. And the music, play, sing, write. When did you start all that?
I started writing lyrics and poems when I was a kid. I picked up a guitar when I moved to Austin because there is a rule. When you move to Austin, you must pick up a guitar. You must start strumming. Otherwise, they kick you out. But for the most part, it's been a lot of fun doing the music. And for me, I've written almost 30 songs now. So in the song in the book, I include the lyrics to the songs. And then we're going to do an audio book too that'll include some of the music. Looking forward to that. So it's really just a hobby, Steph, to be honest with you. But I enjoy doing it so much that I drag my friends who are better musicians than me into the studio, and we bang out several songs a year, it seems like.
Now, is there a big billboard when I like, welcome to Austin, here's your guitar? I mean, is it one of those?
Yes, absolutely. If you're going to move here, you have to pick up an instrument. It doesn't have to be a guitar, but it is the live music capital of the world. It's one of the reasons I still live here. I love Austin. Right now, this is coming your way from San Antonio. I've got a game tonight. So I make that commute between Austin and San Antonio for home games.
Okay. How far is the commute?
It's about an hour and 20 minutes. It's not too bad.
Oh, okay. Here in New York, that's about 6 blocks. So
that's exactly right. Yeah.
I'm actually visiting Austin in May, so perhaps you'll have to give me some recommendations.
You got it. No problem at all. I know all the places. I was out yesterday. South by Southwest is going to a big music festival every year, and I was out checking out some music yesterday. So that was a lot of fun.
Better start practicing your guitar skills, though.
That's right.
Yeah, when you get off the plane, they're going to make you play.
Maybe I'll have one of those recorders that everyone in the US had to learn to use when they were like in first grade at public schools for no particular reason.
Carly, you teach little kids. Do they have to still learn the recorder or not in your classroom?
No, we just sing and dance and explore musical instruments.
Oh, that's fun.
No requirement.
That sounds so superior. Why did everyone have to learn to use the recorder? How strange.
Especially all those little holes and such. Singing and dancing sounds like fun. But evidently down in Austin, they're doing even more.
Everybody's got a recorder in Austin. Recorder, guitar, it's a whole thing, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's so funny that we have the three of you on with three completely different books. And I'm always about pushing the book. So if we are pushing the book, here's the question for all of you. I want you to both describe the perfect person to buy your book for. So if I'm buying a gift right now, who is the perfect person I should be buying your book for? And if I wanted to put the book like in a gift set with something else, what else should I put in that set? So I'm going to start, Carly, with you. If I am going to give Libby the Ladybug as a gift, please describe your perfect reader. Who should be on my gift list and what should I put in the package?
That's a great question. When I first wrote this story, I thought it was just going to be for children. And, I actually think it's for adults too. Everyone can learn how to be a little bit more helpful, especially in the world we live in today. So I would say that, if you were to give it to somebody, it would probably be a child, 6 to 9 years old. The font is very bold, so it would allow kids to learn how to read. And as a teacher, I was very conscious of the font and the sizing and the illustrations. And so I do think it's a great book for students who are trying to read. Paired with the book, something with a ladybug. It could be, a ladybug stuffed animal for them to hold so that they feel connected to Libby. I know that I wear a ladybug necklace every day so that she feels close to me. So I think, a little ladybug might be a nice pairing with it.
Oh, I love that you have a ladybug necklace. And I wonder, and you may have to get one for your classroom. Do they make like a ladybug little terrarium farm that they could all fly around? And I've seen these for classrooms that it's like caterpillars into butterflies. Do they do that for ladybugs too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So every year in my classroom, I usually do some sort of project like that. I've done the butterflies, and so it's a great project. We are paired with a program in the city that brings animals for the students to have some pet therapy, and so ladybugs are actually brought in. So that also could be a great pairing with the book for people to actually see how ladybugs move and to see their spots.
I love that. Okay. The next book I'm going to be buying is Niece Girl, which I said I thought it was a great beach read. But Danielle, who should we be buying this for and what should we be pairing it with?
I think it would pair well with a bottle of rosé for sure. And I think, it would appeal to really a lot of people. People who have either been to some of these places and enjoy traveling there, or people who haven't been and are just interested, in some European hotspots or New York City. I think it's a great beach read. It's a good summer read. But even if, it's cold and rainy, it might be a nice way to transport you to somewhere a little bit more pleasant.
I love that. I love that. And I definitely know plenty of people who either they're going to be on the beach or wishing they were on the beach very soon, and they will want rosé too. So I know that I'll be gifting that. And Bill, I know where your book is already going. I'm getting a copy for my dad. But besides a copy for my dad, who else should be buying this book, and what should we be coupling it with in the gift?
Well, I don't know if it pairs well with a nice rosé like Danielle, but I would pair it with one of my music CDs, I guess, available on Apple Music. Yeah, because until the audiobook comes out, all you're doing is read the lyrics, right? The book, I think, would be good for anybody that's really a sports fan, whether they're a fan of sports broadcasting or just, I drop a lot of names in the book, not because I try to drop names. It's just I happen to know some of these people. I happen to spend some time with them. So I'm very fortunate in that regard. So if you're an NBA fan, a general sports fan, or a fan of the art of sportscasting, I think that this book would be good for you.
Fantastic. And that's why I said I know my dad is getting a copy of your book. That's a for sure. But not a rosé. Is it more of a, I don't know, a Bud Light kind of a book?
Yeah, I think some of the readers would be Bud Light. I personally am not a Bud Light guy. Sean Elliott, who had some really nice things to say about the book, he's a college basketball Hall of Famer, and our television guy is a big wine guy. When the night I had the 2000 games, he brought me 2 bottles of very nice bottles of wine, and I looked him up on Vivino, and he paid more than I would have paid. I will say that. So he knows the expensive stuff.
Right. And if we're going with the drinks, I'm guessing that Libby the Ladybug is more like a chocolate milk kind of a drink.
Maybe like a pink lemonade.
Oh, okay. Oh, I like that. I think Libby does get a pink lemonade over a chocolate milk. I definitely see that. And one final question for all of you, and I'll start this one with Bill. Besides you, Bill, who is going to play the lead character in the movie? Okay, so we're going to do this backwards.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Because Carly is going to need the most amount of time to figure out who's going to play the lead. But Bill, who is going to play Bill Schoening in the movie?
A very young, handsome Tom Selleck, I believe, would be the guy. Preferably with his shirt off. Although I've never looked good with my shirt off the way Tom did back in the day.
Yes, but nowadays when they have movies, they have to have the gratuitous body parts showing, so it has to be. Now we can't wind him back. Is there somebody that we could hire now who looks like the ideal Bill Schoening?
I have no idea. I'm more of an old school guy. The former Chicago Bears coach, Mike Ditka, I get that a lot. So maybe we can bring Mike out of mothballs and have him do some acting.
Well, does he mind going shirtless? Now that tantalized us, we really have to have that.
I think Tom Selleck looks better without a shirt on these days than Mike does, probably.
Okay.
I'm just guessing. I don't know.
Danielle, how about you? Who is playing your protagonist in the movie?
I wish I had someone specific in mind, but I don't. So maybe a new breakout, unknown actress.
Okay, we're getting a breakout star. So this was when you were writing this, you didn't actually think in your head, "Ooh, this is like a Reese Witherspoon role" or whatever.
I think some characteristics, definitely. I thought oh, this is kind of a Reese Witherspoon type of characteristic, or this is more like, I don't know, maybe someone from the cast of Euphoria, or I don't know. But I think I didn't have one particular person in mind.
Okay. So a breakout star. And Carly, I'm dying to hear who is playing Libby the Ladybug in the movie.
I'm dying to hear as well. I think when I think about it turning into a movie, I think more animation.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to turn it over to Disney Studios or Pixar or something.
Exactly. When I look at the cover, I do see my mom and me. If I look closely at Libby's mom, I do see my mom's resemblance. So I would love for my mom and I to be the voices of Libby and her mom, maybe one day.
And for that, you get to keep your shirts on. So, fabulous. Let me just remind all of our viewers of your books and where they can go grab them. Carly Furino is the author of Libby the Ladybug Learns Helpfulness, and you could learn more at libbytheladybug.com. Danielle Scott is the author of Nice Girl. And next we have Spain Girl or Madrid Girl. So we better hop on this right away, or Barcelona Girl. I'm not sure. Maybe this girl will be all over the continent. And then finally, please visit billschoening.com so that you can get the book, the music, the legend, and all of the stories behind this. Thank you so much to all of you. And I hear from all of you that there's another book in the future. So we'll get you back on Between the Covers when that book is ready. And when you're in New York, we'll film live, which I love. So thanks so much for everything, and good luck with the books, and happy writing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thanks for joining us on Between the Covers. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're an author who would be interested in appearing on our show, or perhaps you're a member of a book club, we do host book clubs as well, please visit betweenthecoverstv.com. By the way, at betweenthecoverstv.com, you can watch past episodes in addition to learning more about our authors and guests. So sign up there if you would like to be a guest on the show yourself. And if you have some books that you would like to get written or published, visit redpenguinbooks.com. Thanks so much for joining us.